Three things to spice up your midlife experience as a man. In this video, I'm going to share with you the background why I'm sharing this video with you, but also the three things that first came to my mind after I experienced the background that I'm sharing with you. Three things to help you get your life, get some more spices in your life, get some more juice in your life, and make midlife a better experience. First of all, why this video? My name is Michael Plusek, and I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, and I've been an entrepreneur for many years now. And when I woke up in midlife, in my mid-40s, after a very painful relationship, and I shared a video around this, I was like, what the heck is going on here? I felt drained. I felt no more joy in life. I felt I had no more energy. I felt like I didn't want to talk with women anymore. I felt depressed. And I was like, I don't like this. What's going on? I started to figure out what it would take for me if it was all over. That was one question. I also created a video about that, but I decided, no, it's not. I actually want to make the next years, the next decades, the best years of my life yet, because I have a lot of life experience to bring with me. So I really got myself into this, and I created a Facebook group for men in midlife, and I'll tell you later how to become a member of this, and it's for free, where I'm sharing the learnings, and also it's a group where we can help each other. So let me start with the background for this video, why I got to do the 3 steps or things to spice up your midlife. Midlife, first of all, 50s. Midlife, first of all, 40s, 50s, 60s. I was talking to a lady in her beginning 40s just like a couple of weeks ago, and we've been dating before. We had a talk, and she's been dating many men and in their 40s or 50s. And she told me, you know what, Michael, the thing is, I meet them on social media or on Tinder or something like this. And the thing is, I see their photo, we communicate, and I decide, I get a lot of, she's a nice looking lady and very great energy, and she gets a lot of attention. So when she decides to go on a date, she has a lot of men to pick from, and she wants to have an experience on that date. Listen carefully here, because there's golden nuggets in this. And she said, you know, Michael, so far I've been what's the name of this? I've been kind of let down, because I go to this date. Most of the time I'm there with a man who is divorced from his wife many years, and it's kind of like, listen carefully here, he's getting up on himself. He doesn't take care of himself. There's no more energy. There's no more mojo in him. And to be honest, Michael, she said, I kind of feel bored. And I listened, and it made sense, because I kind of like saw myself in that picture that she shared. Like I mentioned before, that's exactly how I felt after my last relationship. And I asked her a couple of questions about this, and some of the things she said was that they're not taking care of themselves, so which means that they didn't really dress like they were up to a date. They didn't really take care of themselves with the hair or the face or whatever. There was no sparkling in their eyes anymore, and there was no spiciness or juiciness in them. No, nothing. Here comes the thing. Nothing that made her feel something. Nothing that made her feel something on that date. And I really listened, and I'm sharing with you guys here. She even told me that she had a couple of experiences in bed also with a couple of men where she was like, okay, this may be something interesting. Again, for me, it's learnings, and I'm sharing this with you. And I asked, how did that go? And she said, same thing. No juiciness, no spiciness, no man, no beast in there. And she was like, that's what I need. She has been married, grown up kids, and her ex-man decided when the kids grow up, I shared videos around this also, that they're done. Nothing more for them to do together. And she's like, I want to go on an adventure now. I want to taste life after being married all of my life. I want to experience adventure. And I understand what she's saying, sitting there and want to experience adventure with a man, and there's no spices in there. Like we're making some food, some dinner. We put in the salt, the pepper, the paprika, the curry, whatever it is, to spice it up, to make the experience even more like flavors, more juicy, something that we feel. And so that's one background reason for this video. And like I said, I understand and I know because I felt like this myself. And I know from the men, we're more than 1,000 men in the group, that there's a lot of men feeling the same thing, especially in midlife. Is it over? That's up to you. But for me, I decided, no, it's not over. I want to spice up my life. And here is 3 things that came to my mind. There's a lot of things, but 3 things to begin to do that doesn't cost anything, that's pretty easy to do. Simple, let me say simple, not easy. Number one thing is actually to find some new kind of vision. And when I say vision, it's kind of like, doesn't have to be like being a world champion or something, or create a huge company or something, but it could actually be a vision of getting healthy. It could be a vision of finding my hobby. It could be a vision of being an awesome dad, whatever it is. But the thing is, that's my experience and a lot of the people I work with as a coach and a mentor, when we begin to figure out what is my vision, and not like something we put it out here and we don't do something about it. We really have set the intention of figuring out what is my vision. When we begin to experience, okay, here's something, this could be it, there's a lot of energy in that. And here, with that energy, there's a lot of what I call in this video the spices or the juices. So the vision. And a couple of thoughts about vision here. One thing is that I know from my own experience and people I work with, that it's not necessarily that it just comes like this. Wow, I want to find my vision, and there it is. There's my vision. This is what I'm going to do for the next decade of my life. It can be, that's why I say set the intention and begin to get in motion around it. It can be that we need to experiment with things. That's my second step. It can be that we need to test out things. It can be that we need to put some mind, some emotions, and play with this. But you get it, there's energy in this. And about the vision also, for some, it's mostly something that we see up here. For some, it's mostly something that we feel. There's no right or wrong in this. From my experience working with a lot of people about this, no right or wrong, whatever works best for you. The most important thing is that we actually begin to do the things, we begin to get emotion, we begin to experiment with it, and suddenly it's kind of like, wow, there it is. Now we can talk about spices and juices. Leads me to number 2, which was, like I said, experimenting with things. And I find very interesting from my own journey is that maybe something like create a list. So instead of watching a movie tonight or drinking a beer or something like that, take some pen and paper and take yourself outside or whatever you want to do, somewhere where you're not used to be. Go there, and in that place, just set the intention again. Maybe write it on top of the page. What would I like to do or experience? That could be hobbies. That could be goals. That could be things you want to experience. It could be like, okay, I want to be a better dad. It could be I want to change some clothes. It could be I want to clean up in my garage. It could be I want to start in the gym. It could be whatever it is. Just put all of these things in there. And could also be like I did a couple of years ago, say, okay, I want to start dancing. And I started to dance, something that I actually didn't want to do, but I also did want to do it. I started to dance, and the dance was bachata, which is very exotic dance, and that gave me a lot of experiences. So create that list, and then just from that list, okay, here are 3 things that I could test pretty easy. The garage is going to be maybe a half a day or 2 hours or something. Just do it, clean it up, and feel the experience of that afterwards. Maybe it's not dancing for you. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's starting to boxing or starting to a cooking class or writing class or whatever it is. Just do it. No more thinking about things. No more sitting in the couch and life is bad. Just do it. And maybe, well, after 5, 10, 30 times, you find out this is not me. But guess what? And this is something, again, where the spices and the juices come in. Even if this is not me, and I experienced that too. A lot of things I did where I was like, no, this is not me. But I still got in motion. I still had the intention of figuring out what is it that I'm supposed to do? Who am I? What do I want to do? Where am I a fish in the water? And all of these things we do, it's just like creating a puzzle. Okay, that doesn't fit there. That's not what I'm going to do. No problem. That piece doesn't fit there, but there's another piece that fits there. And maybe we have to test a couple of things before we know it. Maybe you go dancing and you experience, wow, this is what I needed in my life. And cool. So does this make sense? This is a little of all the spices down in the pot, figuring out what do I like, what don't I like, and then a little bit more of this, or no, I'm not going to do this again. That even this one, and it's pretty simple, this one is something that can really spice up our lives. All right, and takes me to number 3. I could create one long video around each of these things, or even the small pieces in each of these things. But the number 3, the number 3 thing that I came up with today is actually and it comes also with, especially the second thing, experimenting with things. The number 3 thing is actually to challenge yourself. And what I mean by that, I mean, especially in midlife, if energy is low, if depression is high, if the mood is more like this than this, and the couch is screaming for us to sit in there, if we are in a relationship or married and it's not juicy or spicy and we're just like everything is like a hamster wheel, or if we're not in a relationship, doesn't matter. But when I say challenge ourselves, it could be with the list that you created, could be like, okay, going to a dancing class. For me, that was a challenge. I had to say to myself, I didn't have a partner. I went to the dancing class all by myself. I didn't know how to dance. And I said, okay, this is going to be out of my comfort zone, but let me just do this. So as I said, it's a simple thing, but it might not be easy because we have to challenge ourselves. The cool thing here is that when we challenge ourselves, it could be a dancing class, it could be also, for me, like I experienced and shared, it could be dating, talking to women, being more emotional, whatever it is. But the thing is, when we begin to do this, again, think about the spices example, it kind of like we stir things up in our own body and mind. We begin to make things bubble in there, which is much more living than just staying on the ground or bottom and doing nothing. Makes sense? So it might be that the challenge stirs up feelings of nervousness, fear, fear of rejection if it's dating, or fear of being laughed at if it's dancing or writing or whatever it is. But again, these things that shows up inside of us that we feel, it's much more feeling alive than not feeling alive. And it's much more spiciness and juiciness to our life. And guess what happens from my experience and the men I've helped with this, when we feel more alive, when we challenged ourselves and we can say, whoa, good job. And we feel that, guess what happens with the people we meet, men or women? Guess what happens when we speak with women, and even if we're in a relationship, when we begin to be more a man again? So that was the 3 steps. Pretty simple and maybe not that easy, but let me know how that goes. And also, I promised that I wanted to share about this free group for men in midlife. I created this group, I don't know how many months ago now, and I was very active in there in the beginning. And then I also had a couple of business adventures. So I admit that it's not been the 100% focus for me, but the group is there. We're more than 1,000 men in there from different parts in the world. And it's for men in midlife, 40s, 50s, 60s. What I wrote in the beginning is it's for successful men who created something in their life, businesses or careers, or maybe sports or something. And I attracted a lot of those great men in there. And for men who's not feeling fulfilled, men who is lacking that juiciness in their life. So if this fits you and if you want to join us, you're more than welcome. And I will make sure there's a link just below the video so you can just find that and find the group and see if this is something for you.